Sierra said, what are some impactful ideas for grassroots vendor networking? I'm wanting to focus in more on vendor experience and would love to get some ideas going. If you listened to a few of my episodes, you've likely heard me say that so much of the reason that I am as successful as I am in the wedding industry is because of my vendor partnerships very early on in my career. And for me, it was extremely important that our vendors were as important to us in our process as our clients were. Your vendors are the people who are going to continue to refer you over and over if they love working with you. The first thing I would tell you to do is you need to be at the networking events. It is a necessary piece of your business. And when you go, I want you to go with a purpose. Know who's going to be there ahead of time. If there's somebody that you want to meet, ask for a warm introduction, either from the host of the networking event or honestly, walk up to them, compliment them, tell them something that you love about their website or that you've seen on their Instagram that you really love, and then start asking them questions about them. This is the most important piece, is that a lot of times we walk up to somebody, can tell you the number of times I've been at a networking event and somebody walks up to me cold and is like, hi, I'm so-and-so photographer. I do XYZ. I am amazing because XYZ. Here's why you need to refer me to your clients. I would love for you to refer me to your clients. Would you like to? And I'm like, no. The reason for that is because I know nothing about you. Like, you just came at me and like went me. And I'm like, okay, but how do you serve me? How does this bring value to me or my clients? I don't really understand. And so what you want to do when you first meet a vendor is you want to ask them, what are the perfect kinds of clients that you can refer to them? Like, what makes a great partner, right? So first do that at the networking events. From the networking events, that's where you're going to determine, okay, I met this really great photographer and I want to follow up with them. Invite them out for coffee. Invite them out for wine. I think the next thing that I would tell you, and I think this one goes way undervalued. Sierra is a planner, so I'm going to answer this from a planner's perspective, and then I'll give you some other details for different vendors. Our only job is to make sure that everyone else does their job well. And so what that means is that we also need to make sure that everything they need to do their job well is there when they need it. Like, these are the things that will make you stand out to other vendors because they're like, you make my job easier. I'd also love to see you do things like, make sure that in the vendor room, you're taking time to ask them questions. I want to learn more about those vendors. That's so important. One, it gives me leverage to follow up, but it also helps them to know that you're invested in them. And that goes for every vendor. You should be asking questions. Use that time in the vendor room to get to know the other vendors. It's dead time anyway, you might as well. For other vendors looking for ways that you can impact on wedding day, I would say, for a venue or for a caterer, you as a venue or a caterer should be feeding your vendors amazing food because they're the ones that are going to be referring you. I'm just telling you, a venue or caterer's best way to get in with vendors and to get referrals from vendors, the best people to refer you is by feeding them well. Photographers, make sure that you bring the couple back on time on the wedding day. These are networking opportunities. They're the ways that make people want to work with you again. DJs, make sure that you are asking the planner or the venue and the photographer, get with them and say, hey, this is the timeline I have. I just want to confirm it's the same timeline you guys had. When each vendor really cares about each other, that's who I want to refer. Like, I only refer people that are going to make me look good on wedding day, that are going to create a flawless event for my couple come heck or high water. Like, I do not care what happens that day. We are all one team, and I want to know that you're going to be part of that team. So I know that seems a little odd for my answer for how to do grassroots networking, but grassroots networking is exactly that. It's literally going and making sure that you're making deep connections, deep relationships with individual vendors. That's really my answer for you, Sierra, is to really be thoughtful about what is it that I can do to be memorable and to make this other vendor's life easier. And that's what's going to make them want to refer you 100%. Okay, so that was Sierra's question. So the next one is, how do you deal with unfavorable personalities in your local industry network? Someone who has a lot of prominence, but not a lot of positivity. Okay, so Nina asked this, and I think my answer for this one is pretty simple, honestly, Nina, because I am an extremely positive person. Like, I really genuinely try to see the best in other people. And when they prove me wrong, which happens, right? Sometimes people just are not your cup of tea, or they just don't like you. And that's possible. Honestly, I just block them out. I know that sounds crazy but I'm dead serious when I tell you that I take my mental health very, very seriously. I would happily give second and third chances. But if somebody genuinely is just not a positive person, they don't make me feel good about myself, I don't associate. I block from a lot of my social media. And I don't mean block as in like you're blocked from my social media. I will block myself from theirs because I don't want to see it. I don't need it in my life. I just don't give them space. I really don't. And for me, I feel like it's honestly just forgetting that they exist in the kindest way possible. There's a Taylor Swift song that I love. It says, "It isn't love, it isn't hate, it's just indifference." And I think that's how I deal with it. I'm just honestly indifferent. Okay, so that is my answer to that, Nina. All right, so we have 2 more quick questions. And so let me pop through these. So how do you calculate full service planning and the 10 to 20% fee? Are you going on the entire budget or just the other vendors? And are you excluding personals like hair and makeup? How do you cover yourself for wedding management clients who end up having scope creep? Okay, so this is a lot of questions in one. This was Kasha that asked this question inside the group. We actually have 2 different podcast episodes on this specific topic. Episode 77 with Rebecca Rose Atchison, and then episode 162 with Nicole Mower. So I personally, for percentage-based pricing for blush, we do not include their honeymoon, their rings, their attire, anything that we're not necessarily involved in. We do include hair and makeup because we do have to manage the hair and makeup vendor. But unless we're going dress shopping with them or going to all of their seamstress appointments, we don't include their attire. We don't include rings and honeymoon. Basically, everything else is included in that budget, but it's completely up to you. Some people do include the dress, some people don't include the dress. There's lots of ways to do it. So there in episode 162 is where I would listen to exactly how to implement that percentage-based pricing. I think that's a really, really good one. And then she was also asking, how do you cover yourself for wedding management clients who end up having scope creep? Honestly, let me tell you my philosophy on wedding management. And this is a planner-based question, but this goes for every single kind of pro. So what I will tell you is with your most basic package, it should be everything that they need and nothing that they want. And I want you to draw a really hard line on that. And that's because they've chosen to get your most basic service. And then if they want to add on additional services, that's when you can say, absolutely, here's our next package up. So that's what I would encourage everybody listening to really be mindful of, is that when you draw that hard line, then it makes it easier to not have that scope creep. And then you need to make sure that you're charging for those additional services. Okay, last question is from Vicky. And Vicky said, what is your number 1 tip for building a team? I think going back to question 1 of really figuring out what is it that you need first, right from the beginning, I would tell you, really be thoughtful. Just like I told Taylor at the beginning of this episode, be thoughtful about what it is you need on your team. What I want you to do is I want you to look at it all on paper, and I want you to look at each person's strengths and weaknesses. And that's where I really want you to start thinking, okay, I'm going to look at this whole group and I want to start looking at which one of them fits here, and which one of them fits here, and which one of them fits here. The positions that I really tried to get in place for as many of my students as possible is yourself, obviously, sales, an operations person, and then you have your marketing person. So those are really the key positions that I'm looking for on a team. And since they can't all be hired at once, when you have that team of contractors you've already started, I would say to really look at what do you need first and who do you have on your team that really fits that criteria the most. And so I get really excited doing team strategy with students. Oh my gosh, this is like my favorite thing to do. And I do that both in my one-on-one sessions that I work with or inside my accelerator. I really want to encourage you to look at the programs that I have inside of the Wedding Pro CEO. We have Wedding Business School, which is a brand new program that we're launching for newer wedding pros who are really scaling towards that first 50,000 in revenue. You can go to brandeegar.com/WBS for Wedding Business School and check out the details there. And then we also have the accelerator. So the accelerator is like, you've already made like 30 to 40 plus thousand in your business and scaling to 100,000 plus. This is my signature program. It's the one that I am so incredibly proud of. What I want to impress upon you with this episode, CEO, is not to wait. And while you may not think that you have time to do it, I promise you that 6 months from now, if you put the work in, your business will look completely different. You'll be able to start paying yourself a salary and really feel like the CEO that your business needs it to be. I am so passionate about creating this movement for wedding pros to step up and to step into running their businesses like the CEOs that I know that you can be. So you guys, thank you so much for being here every single week, and I will see you next time.